Yo guys, I hope you're all good and welcome back to another episode of Duncan Shows You on the Marin Bikes YouTube channel. On this week's episode, I'm back on the Riftzone Carbon 2 and we're going to do a tutorial on a technique that I think is quite overlooked and underestimated in the mountain biking world, and that is what I call the front bump technique. And that is essentially going up to an obstacle that's in your way on the trail, whether it's going up or coming down, and basically bashing your front wheel into the front end of that obstacle to help you get the momentum upwards and onwards to get yourself on and over that obstacle, losing as little time as possible. Now, as you can see, we have found ourselves a fallen down tree that's got all sorts of different levels and stuff, so it makes it pretty ideal for doing this tutorial on. It would be pretty perfect to learn if you're learning on. So it's all about finding something reasonably small. Something circular like a tree is really good because, as you're going to soon see, it just makes it a little bit easier to be aggressive with the front wheel. But anything such as a brick or a stone or even a raised curb in your street could work for learning this trick. So it's all about just finding what you have around you and seeing what you can do with it. So now that we've found the obstacle that we're going to try it on, the first things we need to look at is the setup and approach. And there's two main factors here. The first one, which is really important, is the angle at which you hit the obstacle. I'm going to roll in from here. Whilst it could be tempting to cut that angle across there, come in at an angle, there is a chance that my front wheel's then going to slip out, and that's the last thing we want to do. So basically I'd be tempted to just cut it short here and then, well, it actually did slip. Try and cut the angle too much, it just makes it a lot harder, a lot sketchier, and you're more likely to basically crash. You don't need to take the angle out completely. Sometimes you can't take the angle out completely, but it's all about just minimizing how harsh that angle is and getting as close to the perpendicular, something like this. Yeah, you basically want to be perpendicular to the log to minimize the risk of your front wheel slipping, and the straighter on you go, the more propulsion you're going to get from that impact. You're not basically going to lose anything. It's not going to send you squint even if it doesn't slip, and it's going to push you up nice and high. That is basically the whole point of this exercise, is to help you get over logs faster and easier than basically just bunny hopping them straight, because it'd be pretty hard to bunny hop that thing straight, especially when you're in full trail riding mode. So now we've got the angle sorted, we need to look at the speed. For this one, it is definitely quite aggressive. It's probably like the other stuff we've talked about. It's a bit more aggressive than it looks. But because of the nature of the trick, it is all about speed, and it's about getting as much impact into that front wheel as possible to get up and over it. So it's all about just kind of taking that plunge and giving it a blast. But anything over a sort of fast walking pace is going to work. As soon as you go below that, it's not really going to work, and you'll end up just kind of hanging up on the log or the obstacle. If you're not going fast enough, even if you get the height, your back wheel is going to be coming down again by the time the log's here. So all about the speed. It's like jogging pace, isn't it? The main thing I would just encourage people is to try it. Like, if you have a sloped side, it's not going to go too far wrong, especially if you've got 29-inch wheels. So that's the approach and setup sorted. Step number 2 is basically popping what is essentially a mini manual. If you guys do want to check out a manual tutorial, I will link it below because we've done one previously. It's not quite as hard as doing a sustained manual. It's basically popping the first part of one, and by the time you pop the first part, it is the moment where you actually hit the front wheel in the air. So don't worry too much about being able to do huge long manuals before trying this. It is essentially the manual technique though, where you basically come along with a quick snap in the arms, get that front wheel up. It's not quite as much about getting all your weight back like you would if you're aiming to pop a long sustained manual. Because it's quite an aggressive move, you're really just trying to get the front wheel up for that second or two, just in time for it to hit. And by that point, you're into the second phase of basically getting up and over that thing. You don't need to worry about keeping your front wheel up in the air for ages. You're pretty much wanting to pull up about here, I reckon. We're kind of tuned not to ride into logs. So I suppose you're probably more likely to pull up too soon. And basically what happens if you do that is, by the time you kind of get there, your front wheel's either coming back down or you'll actually end up going over it. It's basically going in and lifting your front wheel fairly last minute, so it almost hits it on the way up. You really want to kind of be hitting it on the way up and not on the way back down, because that's what's going to give you maximum height and propulsion to get you over that thing as fast and as simple as possible. Once you've got the front wheel hitting the right place, you then just need to, you don't need to give it too much thought because it kind of just takes care of itself. But like you saw there, it's not about clearing yourself clean over the obstacle. All you're basically doing is just getting your front wheel and then your back wheel high enough to actually be rolling over the top rather than hanging up. Like, you can try and use it to clear your back wheel over it, but it's all about just getting your back wheel to the crest of the log. So you get your back wheel to basically that height. So with a little bit of weight over the back, you're essentially just gonna kind of do a really rapid manual over it. You can try and clear it, but I kind of like to just do a little back wheel tap, nice and controlled, and then you get on your way. Get the pedal strokes back in for the rest of the trail. Yeah, I'll try one over there. It's a little bit higher, but it's actually a nicer shape than that. It's a nicer roll-on, just to kind of show you how the technique works. Not only is it higher to get up, it's almost getting to the stage where if you hang your back wheel up, it's like potential for over the bars. I guess the technique just stays the same. You just have to be a little bit more aggressive with the tap. Obviously for a higher thing, you have to lift your front wheel higher in absolute terms, but it's basically the same relative to the log. It's the same idea, it's just above the vertical part of the log to give you maximum lift. It is quite daunting because you know the speed you have to go to make it work. Whoa! That's hellish. I actually thought I was going to go there. When you first try it, you're probably thinking, oh, this is never going to get me over this log, but if you hit that sweet spot, it gives you a fair old boost up. Quite stoked with that one. So there we have it. That was the front bump tutorial. I think that's what you call it. Doesn't really have a name, but we'll go with that anyway. If you do have any questions on anything I've just gone through there, please comment below and I'll do my best to get back to you and help you get these things perfected for yourselves. If you have any questions about the bike or anything in the Marin Bikes range, again, please comment below and the guys at Marin Bikes will be happy to help. And separately, if you have any ideas of what you'd like to see us do next on the channel, we'd love to hear from you. So again, comment below and we will do our best to get on it. But in the meantime, have fun and we'll catch you next time. Peace.